well, they were being told it's a panacea. Take it and you'll be fine. And so I allowed her to speak to the pharmacological figure who was sort of the arch villain. And then I also had the Wuhan bat, the little bat from Wuhan who had been scapegoated with the beginning of this, who was flying around the play and eventually conquered the doctor. So I felt like I was trying to be as responsible as I could, even though I knew that I was sometimes, the play, very short play, was flying in the face of what the media was telling people, the general media, or one might even say the left-wing media, the New York Times and the CNN. I knew I was, and I was also standing up against what a lot of people wanted to believe was true. We would also pass out literature after the play about the statistics as we could see them, which were, anyway. So I did that. It was strange, and I think in many ways, I may have alienated some people. Not necessarily the people who saw the play, but people who knew I was doing this, because there was and I may be wrong. I may be wrong. But so too may Dr. Fauci be dead wrong. And I just felt like I had to speak what I had learned and allow people to make up their mind. It felt like censorship. I've always been against censorship. It felt like, oh no, they're not going to let this point of view be told. Well, it's my job as an artist and a writer to tell it.
And what was the name of the play that you made?
It was called A SARS is Born. From A Star is Born, but the SARS virus. A SARS is Born.
And where did you perform this, George?
We performed it on the streets of New York. We performed it in front of the Bethesda Fountain in Central Park. We performed it in front of the Bandshell in Central Park. We performed it in front of the Gandhi statue. There's a beautiful statue of Mahatma Gandhi in Union Square. And Union Square, which is in the West Village, well, it's actually in East Village, 14th Street. That's been the seat of a lot of protests historically from, the 1900s on. So we were proud to do our show there in front of Gandhi's statue. And then we passed out things. And then we got folded into some of the other protest movements, which were more generally about anti-lockdown. And then they also became, there are a lot of people who are attracted to protesting and a lot of people with different points of view. But it was good. We bought our own little microphone devices, and it was very rudimentary, and it was very much like, I don't know, what I feel is a history.
It's what it is?
What do you call that? What?
It's go ahead, Kimberly. You had a comment about that.
So, I've been listening, and I just wanted to reflect on something, George, because you started out how authenticity was really big for you. And last year I talked about 2020 as authenticity for all of us being big. And then all of this happened. But so I love that you're bringing out this whole part about when a person takes time to have a deeper reflection and sits with their authenticity, they're less likely to go to one side or the other, or at least they're able to make up their own mind without fear. And that is the most calming, transformational, empowering thing a person can do. And I love that you made fun of all these little things that are bringing fear to people, like the lady with the pipe cleaners. So do you feel like that was part of your expression too then, of the authenticity and the deeper reflection that you've gone through your whole career that you were talking about?
Yes, that's a good point. That it takes, it's a good point. It takes reflection. And also you can be wrong. I mean, one thing, if you're a politician, you can't often be wrong and say, I was wrong. I mean, has anybody ever said, for instance, and I don't mean to be, has anybody ever said it was wrong to say there were weapons of mass destruction? They've never said, oh, that was wrong. Has anybody ever really said anything about what we did wrong in Vietnam? I'm not saying all of Vietnam was wrong, but the politicians, their job is to keep moving ahead with one agenda, I think. So there is some luxury from being a common man, a common man or a common woman, that we can reflect, and we can also say, look, this is what I believe.
And
George, we don't have to add right now.
I have a couple comments that I think are important. Number one, I think the common man that you just said, that authenticity speaks directly to how I felt when you're on a stage acting a play. But the fact that you're delivering this at the street level, and it'd be interesting to hear what reactions people had from you. But also, I'm very present to the fact that this is a Renaissance movement. We are in a Renaissance time, and it's in the Renaissance that the street plays became the voice of the people. And I think it's so great because we can laugh at ourselves. We can, in those situations, we can begin to, like Kimberly's saying, reflect on where we being authentic. So what was some of the reactions of the people that watched your play?
Well, the people who were watching our play were appreciative, and actually most of them were on the same side. But before we actually created the play, there was a small group of us who came together to pass out leaflets that would be, they were meant to be educational. They were meant to be presenting the side that was not the mainstream media's account of the health crisis. And there we had a lot of people sort of shaming us, yelling at us. But when we actually did the play, we were more in another crowd where there was more acceptance and agreement with the point of view. So we did have people shouting at us and being angry with us when we were passing out information. They thought we were trying to kill people. I mean, I think that's one of the things the mainstream media convinced everyone, is that if you had a different point of view, or if you were entertaining that there were different ways to deal with the illness, that you were intentionally risking other people's lives. So it was a way of shutting people up by shaming them. And I think it's still going on,
Yeah. So I want to encourage you to keep producing plays and having them performed at the street level, because we are in a Renaissance period, and you bring such a richness and such a heart and such authenticity to really what's going on. I love what you're up to, George.
Well, thanks. And thank you, Kimberly, for your comment about reflection, because it does take, most of us need to take the time to actively reflect. And I will say to your listening audience, it may sound, I am accepting, Patty is so Patricia is so complimentary, but I do know that that's part of what you do, Patricia. You uplift people by acknowledging their greatness. So it's not specific to me. It's just something you do, and it's great. It's great. It's great to do that for people. I did write quickly. I don't know how much time we have.
We just have a minute.
Okay, I did write another play which we haven't actually practiced out loud in front of an audience, but it's about a young activist in the movement against the mainstream media's screed about the coronavirus and its threat. And she's coming she wants to come visit her family for Thanksgiving, and her uncle comes out on the front lawn with his apron on, and he said, "You can't come in the house." And so it's a play about the two different points of view and how those points of view have created schisms within families.
Wow, George, this is so great. We want to hear, after you finish that one, we want to hear more from you in the future. And I'm afraid we've run out of time now. So I'm very inspired by what we've been talking about today. And I can see your name in the lights on the street. So thank you all for joining us, and we will let you know where you can find George when he becomes famous. How's that sound? Thank you, George.
Well, I may not be. Yes, and thank you to Florida Studio Theater for bringing me down to Sarasota so many times, so I was able to have this connection.
Thank you all for listening, and be sure to tune in to us next time. Thanks for tuning into our show on societybitesradio.com. Don't worry if you've missed a show. You can find them all on our website at SarasotaHolisticChamberofCommerce.com.